Hi, everybody. This is CSProfessor Pam with PamTech, and I empower individuals to succeed at their web development careers through my YouTube videos, my Discord community, and personalized coaching. I want to welcome you to another little bite of React. In this series, I am teaching you concepts kind of one thing at a time because how do you eat an elephant? How do you learn something complicated? One bite at a time. All right, in our previous video, we created our first React project, and I'm going back to that code. I haven't added anything to it at this point. Let's walk through what we did before really quickly. So index.html here is referencing main.jsx. When we go there, this code is rendering or creating into this div called root, whatever is in this app component. This is a React component. The code for it is in app.jsx. And I want you to notice that this starts with a capital letter and this starts with a capital letter. That is a rule that we'll be talking about more. Over here, I'm returning, this is JSX. It's a combination of JavaScript and HTML. You have to have just one parent div here. And what am I creating in here? An H1 and a P tag. And if I want to run this, I go to my terminal and I type npm run dev. And this project is now running at localhost 5173. And this is what we're seeing. I want to show you quickly something about JSX. Let me actually just move this over. Suppose I say, I want to add another paragraph outside of this div. I just think I want to do that, right? And look, the minute I do that, everything is a mess, okay? Why is that? That's because what you return here in JSX, there has to be only one single parent div. So this is my one single parent div, but I can put as many things as I want to inside of it. So you can see here, I was able to do that, right? All right, so we're going to make our own component now. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the way I like to organize things. This is not syntax requirements. This is just sort of good habits that help me to keep track of where my files are. Because as you see, there's a lot going on, and this is not even a very big application yet. Inside of source, you see there's a folder for assets. This is where you're going to put any images that you have. But inside of source, I always like to make a couple of folders. I'm going to make one called components. And also inside of source, I'm going to make another one called pages. Now, we're only going to deal with components here, but I'm just kind of setting the framework for what we're going to do in the future. And these folder names I always name with lowercase letters. I'm going to talk a lot about upper and lowercase, and it's important to have some consistency in the way you do things. JavaScript is a case-sensitive language. The file system isn't, but GitHub is. And when you go to deploy your project from GitHub, if you've got some case-insensitive things, anyway, it can cause a problem. So just kind of follow my lead on the way I name things. We are going to create a new component. So I'm going inside of this components folder. Notice when I click on it, you see this little arrow is moving. You want to make sure the arrow is pointing down, meaning I'm about to do some work inside of this folder. I'm going to make a component that I'm going to call hello. So I am going to make a folder first. Again, this is not required by React syntax, but this component is going to have CSS associated with it. And I don't want to have all of my CSS in one place. I need these things sort of compartmentalized. All right, so inside of this folder, And I want you to be very mindful because the very first time that you do this, you see I can't quite see the structure. So notice the arrow is down and the underline is on hello, right? Make sure the arrow is down and the underline is on hello. That means I'm about to do something in there. We're going to make two files. Hello.jsx must start with a capital letter. And so notice our JavaScript files are .jsx. And then also here in hello, I want hello.css, which honestly doesn't have to start with a capital letter, but for consistency, this is what I recommend. Now, there's an important extension that I had you install. Make sure that you have this extension installed because I'm getting ready to use it. So what we want to do here, let's go back to this hello file, hello.jsx. I want to create a functional component like this. Notice there's a lot of syntax going on here. Parentheses, curly brackets, parentheses. I don't want to have to remember all that stuff. So here, because of that extension, I can type RFCE. That is a snippet that says create for me a React functional component and export it. And look at what I get. So it gives me kind of this starting point for this hello component. All right. Now, I want to see this component on my page. Remember, everything is coming from app. So now at this point, I'm going to get rid of, I'll just comment it out, what we had here. And I'm going to get rid of what's inside of this div. And I want to see that hello component here on my app component. So how do we reference it? It looks like an HTML tag. It looks like a self-closing HTML tag. So this is what I would type in. However, if we go over here, I'm getting a blank page. What does that mean? It means React is not happy. All kinds of crazy stuff going on here in the console, but it's important to look at this and kind of see what's going on. It says, hello is not defined. Well, hello is defined over here, but does this app file know where it is? No, it doesn't, because we need to import it. So the easy way to import it, if I go up here and just type the name of my component, it should pop up here where we can get an import statement done for us automatically. And so where is that component located? It is in, as a matter of fact, let me bring up Finder so we can sort of visualize where it is, because it's really important to know how to navigate through your file structure and where things are. All right, so let me bring this over here. So here's my source, and inside of source is where app.jsx is, right? But what I'm looking for is inside of components. So look at what I said. Go here in this directory, look for components. So when I go in there, I see hello, look for there. Inside of there, I see hello.jsx. You do not have to do .jsx. That is going to be assumed, right? And we can import it because this function has been exported from over here, right? So now, what do we see on the page? We see hello, okay? And if I put it again, I would see hello twice, right? Now, let's go back over here to hello.jsx. Remember we made a CSS file? Let's make sure that we connect it. So where is that file? It is in this folder /hello.css. Okay. And to kind of tell what we usually do with our CSS is this needs a class, or in React, we have to use class name because class itself is a JavaScript keyword. So we have to use class name. I'm going to call it hello container. Right? So if I go over here to the css.hello container, I could give it a border. Right? You see there? We can see the see what's going on there, right? We could give it some padding of 20 pixels. Right? We could give it a width of, maybe I wanted to have a width of 50%. Okay? Just whatever CSS you want to do here. Now, I'm not going to get deep into a lot of CSS right now. We could put some margin between them. Right? The best way to do CSS is kind of one thing at a time. So we see here that what we are rendering on main is whatever is in app, but what is in app is basically two calls to this hello. Okay? Now, but that's kind of boring. Maybe I want to say hello to, well, let me change this to inside of here. Let's make this like an H2. And it's going to say hello React. Right? But suppose I want to say hello to different people. I want to give some shout outs, right? Then that means I need to pass some data to this hello component with the name that I want. All right, let's actually I'm going to use, let's call this my name 1, and I'm going to make another one. My name 2 equals Joe. Okay. I want the first component to say hello Pam and the second one to say hello Joe. In order to do that, we need to understand a new React concept, which is props. Props are the way that you can pass data from parent to child. So here, I am going to give this a name. Think of this as like a parameter to your function. So I'm going to say name equals, and for the first one, I want to pass my name 1. Remember, that's a JavaScript variable. That's why it needs to be in curly brackets. For this one, I'm going to say name equals my name 2. Right? Now, I have passed a prop, but my hello component needs to catch the props. All right? So we can do that over here by putting in props. Props is an object that has that data in it. And remember, I had you to install React developer tools in Chrome. And if I go over here and click on components, and this can be a little fickle, sometimes you have to refresh, all right? It's showing me that there are 2 instances of this hello component. And if I click on this first one, you see it has a name called Pam, and name is inside of props, which is an object. So I really need to reference this as props.name. If I click on this one, it has a prop called name, props.name, with a different value in it. So to display that value instead of this word React, again, curly brackets, props.name. And look at what we did. We just passed data down from parent to child and made a custom component that is able to respond to different data, right? And so again, you've got to have this keyword props. If you don't have that, or if you forget to put that here, watch what happens. Errors, you've got to go to your console and you will see objects are not valid. You know, sometimes the messages don't exactly make sense, but there is a problem, right? Because, and you can see it's got a strike across that because it doesn't understand. Props, name is not a thing on its own. Names is a component of this object called props, okay? And I could pass a second prop. Let me do that. Suppose we're going to say what each person's favorite color is. So this one, I'm going to say color equals pink. And this one, I'm going to say color equals blue. Right? Let's go look and see what's being passed in the React Dev Tools. Remember, it's really important to get comfortable with looking at your data. So look, I now have two props, one called color and one called name. And so if I want to use them, let's say over here, we'll put a P tag that says your favorite color is props.color. And look at what we get, right? So we can pass as many props as we want. You should give the prop a name that represents, it's like a variable name that represents what kind of data is in it. And then you can give it the specific data. In this case, I have a string directly I could put in there. In this case, the strings are in variables, and that's why I had to do it here. All right, now I want to do one last little piece on this, because what you typically do when you receive props, this is an object, and what we can do is destructure this object. So instead of having to put props.name, props.color, if I replace this, I have to put curly brackets, and if I put name and color, what I've just done is destructured or pulled those individual pieces out of that object so that I can reference them directly, so that I don't have to use, right? The props object has these two things in it, and I've set it up so that I can refer to them directly. And you see that that still worked. So again, that's a JavaScript concept called destructuring an object, but it's very important. You have to have the curly brackets around it. If I don't have the curly brackets, somebody's not happy, you know, and sometimes these error messages are a little confusing. So that's why it's important to pay close attention and think about the syntax of what you're doing. All right, this is going to be our byte for this lesson. Let me kind of walk through what we did. So here is our app component. App is rendering two instances of the hello component. When we created the hello component, we first created a folder for all of our components. And inside of that, I made a folder called hello. And I made hello.jsx and hello.css, right? Maybe I give this a background color. We'll just pick something like that, right? So you can see how we have CSS that is associated with this component. We are linking it here. We give this component a class name, and based on the class name, we are able to do that. So that's what we have for now. All right, so, and again, what we did, I passed two props. Those props were caught over here and destructured, and that means I can then show that data. Again, those things are variables, so they have to be in curly brackets because that's JavaScript, right? So you're starting to see how we can break things into components and work on things one byte at a time. All right, so that's it for this particular React byte. And again, I want to invite you, if you haven't already, to subscribe to PamTech and to join our Discord channel. If you have any problems in doing this coding, please make sure and leave some comments below, or you can post in the Discord channel. And there'll be some links below for some other resources and references for you. And I hope happy coding. Let me know what you think about this video. Thanks a lot. Bye.